This segment is sponsored by Our Home Magazine.
Our next guest is in high demand interior designer. Today, she's going to share her professional advice on creating a personal retreat at home for yourself. We welcome Tracy deShazo to Virginia this morning. Tracy, you came up there on the screen and I saw those two couches there and there's a bright pink right behind you and I'm going like, wow, that's something. Look at that. How are you?
Fantastic. Thank you for having me on the show today.
So you're that person who is the opposite of me. You walk into a room and your brain starts turning and you say, okay, you can put something there, you can put this there, there's a window here, there's that there, and you see all of that. I walk into a room and I'm blank. I got no idea until I start putting things places. Are more people like me than you?
I think that, my gift is very intuitive. I think that there are probably more people like you than me, but I think that they don't know that they're like you.
Yeah, they know what they like and they know what they don't like too. And so that's a good starting point. When you meet with somebody and you see their space and they have ideas, or maybe they're like me, they're clueless. And where do you start in that whole plan?
So really what I do with clients is I try to understand what their objective is for the space, right? What things that they like, what they don't like, how they're going to use it. It really starts with the functionality, right? So if I can understand how they really want a space to function and then how they want it to feel, if I can encapsulate all of that, then they really trust me to deliver on the look. And a lot of times people focus on how they want something to look, but the look doesn't always translate to how they want the space to feel and how it's actually going to function. So if I can do those two things, which, understand how are you going to live in it? Is it just for you? Is it for your kids? Do you have pets? Whatever. Or do you entertain? If I understand all of that, then I can help them execute how, to realize their vision.
So when we talk to a pro like you, obviously we don't want necessarily your vision for the room. You want to find out our vision on how we use it, what our favorite colors are, what kind of furniture we like, who's using it, the whole gamut.
Right. So I start the engagement with a 20-question design brief, which really goes over what are your expectations in working with a designer, right? So I think that's one of the biggest things. Why have you called me, or why, what is this relationship going to look like? Then it's understanding if it's a new construction home, how did you live in your last house? How do you envision that you're going to live in this house differently? Colors that you're fond of, colors that you want to live with, and colors that, oh my God, I like maybe the pink sofas. Like, I love the pink sofas, but maybe you wouldn't feel comfortable with pink sofas. So understanding likes and dislikes from color, where you vacation, where you shop, the last, your favorite piece of furniture that you bought. All of that information honestly helps me with the client's aesthetic, how they want to live in their house, but it also helps them to think about things that maybe they don't necessarily question themselves. I think a lot of us have an idea of how we want to live in our house, but then there's the practical side of how you actually do live in your house. And maybe an additional way to look at it is, just because a space is pretty doesn't mean that you would feel comfortable living in it. So my goal is always to marry what they like, how they're going to use it, and create that space that's uniquely to them. And, when they come home, they love being in that space.
I'm looking at the room behind you.
Their vision, but it's my
them.
job to help them, push them a little bit out of their comfort zone to make it something that they didn't expect it could be.
I see 3 windows and a fireplace behind you. All of that has to be kind of figured into the plan, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely. So a lot of times, people, when you're not, I guess to me, there are not always rules in decorating, right? So because I am intuitive and I've been doing this for over 20 years, I think of things that other people don't naturally think of. So when, in designing my own space, I consider my house to be a lab, right? So it's like I get to experiment with different colors, wallpapers, rugs, textiles. When working with a client, they're investing a lot of money. So I've got to encapsulate everything about their interior. So, they're not throwing good money after a bad design.
Wow.
So yeah, you have to consider sight lines, windows. If somebody's an art collector and they're doing new construction, it's like, wow, you've got a lot of windows. Where are we going to hang your art? So those are all things that probably the average consumer doesn't think about, but a professional designer will help them consider all of those things and put together a space that is uniquely theirs, but also functional to them.
I bet that you have relatives and friends that say, let's have Tracy over. She could tell us what to do with this.
Yeah,
You get that a lot.
Started earlier. That's kind of how I segued into my formal design business. People are always asking me for design advice. Come over. What do you think about this paint color? What should I do with this? And then I sold textiles for several years, and through that process, I decided, I think it's time for me to launch my own interior design business, and I did that in 2006, and I've been doing it ever since.
And you're doing a great job. It was wonderful meeting you. Love the room. I don't think I'd have gone with the pink couch, but that's you. That's not me. That's the whole idea. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you so much for having me on.
All right. Tracy deShazo Interiors is located at 2604 Aspen Woods Road in Maidens, Virginia. For more information, visit TracyDeShazoInteriors.com. Find Our Home Magazine on newsstands today or subscribe at richmondmagazine.com/home. You'll find them on Facebook at Our Home Magazine and on Instagram at Our Home Mag. Virginia This Morning is going to return after a very quick break.